And welcome everyone back to Spore War After the War, our weekly analysis and retrospective series where we dive into the latest Spore War Actual Play episode that we just finished recording, talk a little bit about what we enjoyed, ask questions about things we want to learn more about, and maybe pull back the Actual Play curtain a little bit and give a bit of insight into how the Actual Play production works and comes together. My name is Jason Collins. I am a freelance comic book writer, tabletop role-playing game designer, actual play producer, and streamer. You can find links to my work, the other actual plays I've been a part of, and my fantasy comic Thistle on my link tree at digital_Collins. And as the producer of Spore War, I am behind the scenes, but After the War is my chance to come out in front of the camera and talk to the game runner for Spore War, Seneschal.
Hi, everyone.
So this is going to be a fun one, I think, because there was a couple of really interesting things that we want to talk about. But I am totally going to pull the rug out from under your feet. I'm not going to talk about Spore War. I'm not going to talk about you. I'm not going to talk about our players. I'm going to talk about me. Because for a few minutes, it's all about me. And I'm doing that because a couple of After the War episodes from now, you and I will probably have a bit of a breakdown discussion of an experience that is coming up for me this week, where I get the privilege and the opportunity and the earned privilege to go to attend New Jersey WebFest, which is in the state of New Jersey, which is a long way from the province of British Columbia, where we both reside. But I'm getting to go there because of another actual play that I did here on Dungeon Scrawlers, which was my Star Wars actual play, Quadrilateral Frostfall.
That's really good.
Yeah, so I am both very proud of that. I'm very excited for that. I'm very apprehensive about that. And I wanted to talk about it for a few minutes because that literally is pulling back the curtain on actual production. I want to talk a little bit about how I got it there, how it is. I want to talk about what you and I expect might happen there. And then there might be questions that you and I both ask each other right now that I can then come back in a week or two and answer when we do a breakdown of my experience and what that was all like. And the short explanation is that New Jersey WebFest is a small independent film festival like many of the film festivals across North America. But what's really unique about New Jersey WebFest is that they also have a fiction audio category. And fiction audio is their broad category, which covers podcasts and documentaries and audio only productions and plays and so forth. But it also includes actual plays, both audio only, as in the audio fiction, and specifically with the video category for those of us that do actual plays in front of the camera. I didn't even know New Jersey WebFest was a thing, and I certainly didn't think that there was a film festival out there that actually acknowledged and celebrated actual plays as part of their platform. I only learned about that last year, which was fascinating to me when I discovered that. And then I started digging into it a little bit and asking the question to myself, well, what does it take? What's the quality that needs to be? The quality is probably pretty high. The bar is probably pretty high in terms of if they're doing an awards show where alongside independent film, which is a part of their mandate and part of what the festival honors as well, true independent filmmakers doing their thing, both web series and actual film that probably gets small distribution or shown locally and so forth. Films that are probably shopping for distribution, nationally and internationally. But the fact that they would include actual plays as part of that, well, the bar must be super high. They're looking for super high, production quality and like high caliber actors and all of those things. But regardless of that, I didn't want to shut the door on myself and say, well, then it's not worth pursuing. I looked into a little bit more and I sort of found out the criteria. And basically, you have to get nominated. And in this case, I nominated myself because no one else was going to do it. And that's okay, because sometimes you have to share or even shout out the creative things that you're doing to let people know you're doing. I hustle every time I go to a comic convention and share my fantasy comic. I'm there to hustle and I'm there to share it. I'm there to tell the story of making the comic and how proud I am of it and get people excited for it. And the people at a Comic Con are there because they're excited about comics and they're excited about meeting comic creators, and it's fun for them. So you don't have to work very hard to convince the audience. New Jersey Webfest is looking for quality actual plays. They're looking for fun actual plays. They're looking for just highly engaged actual plays, high production quality or not, because they're there to celebrate that as yet another creative pursuit that we're all doing, which is adjacent to film and adjacent to storytelling and so forth. And as we know, role playing games are always this weird hybrid child of all, stage acting and voice acting and improvisation and all those fun things, and writing and art and all those things together, because often those are different creative pursuits that all end up in role playing games. And then actual plays are just us sharing that same process with others. So I had to create a submission, which meant I had to create a sizzle reel, a 30-minute sizzle reel of what I thought were some of the best moments of the actual play. Based on that 30-minute sizzle reel, they would determine if you were a selection for the film festival, meaning that your name is an official selection. And then on top of that, if you would be nominated in any of the categories that you're there. And I'm hijacking after the war to talk about this for a few minutes, because I am very proud of the fact that I learned about it for the first time, submitted my second actual play at Quadrilateral Frostfall, did my own 30-minute sizzle reel. I didn't involve anybody in the process. I did it in the dark, in my office, alone, poring over hours of the footage of the game that we did last year. And I found what I hoped were the best moments, which meant it all rested on my intuition and my judgment and my taste and my skill as a game master. Is, am I sharing scenes that are going to connect with an audience, especially an audience that's never seen it before? And if I don't get nominated and I don't get chosen for anything, well, then so be it. It was still a fun experiment, but maybe it goes somewhere. And it went somewhere. And I didn't get nominated for a category for New Jersey New Jersey Webfest. I got nominated for 5 categories for New Jersey Webfest.
Wow.
Which blew my mind.
Not just nominated, sorry, you got selected
So I got an official selection. Quadrilateral Frostfall is an official selection, which means it'll be featured at the film festival. And in their actual play, in their fiction audio categories under the actual plays, there was multiple categories, and my show was nominated. Our show that we did as a team was nominated in 5 of those categories.
That's phenomenal.
So yeah, that's a hell of a thing, and I'm flying out in a couple days now to go and experience that and to go through that. And I'm gonna end up sitting in a theater, an actual movie theater or small showing theater, with other people, presumably all the other role-playing game geeks and all the actual play nerds, and my wife keeps calling it the Nerd Oscars, which is basically what it is.
Fair.
Which is really great. We're just summarizing it for all of our normal friends, all the people who are not gamers, and she wants to explain to them what Jason gets to go and do, and what the wonderful thing he's going to get to do is Jason gets to go to the Nerd Oscars. So it's a really good way of doing it. And I'm going to be sitting in a theater, and they're going to show from that 30-minute sizzle reel, which is what got me an official selection status. I had to cut it down again to 7 minutes, no more than 7 minutes. And they then put it into the schedule of screenings that they do. And 7 minutes of our actual play is going to be shown in a theater in front of a live audience. And that's just, the sound of my brain exploding, because that is both amazing and a little daunting and horrifying. And I don't expect it to be the kind of room where everybody's going to poo-poo and shit all over your creative work. Everybody's there to celebrate everything else is doing. And if there's going to be people that are going to be like woohooing or giving a bit of a cheer when they see Star Wars come up on the screen, it's like I told my wife, I said, there's a chance I'm going to cry. So we'll see.
Don't do that.
We'll see what happens. But I wanted to talk about that. And
I think it was a worthwhile thing to bring up, and I'm having a hard time finding a way to make it all about me. So what I'll just do is celebrate you instead, because it really is an amazing journey for you. And I think the takeaway for me, I'm looking forward to the tale of when you return. I'm looking forward to seeing what experiences you come away with. And I think that in and of itself, that's what life's about, right? Shared experiences and things like that. But I'd like you to comment for a minute on when you and I were kids, roleplay gaming was perceived differently than it is today. There was a lot of bullying and things like that we endured and put up with. And those of us who stuck with the hobby at that time were those who could not stay away. Those who found the idea of collaborative storytelling and the sense of adventure so compelling that we could not do otherwise than participate as players or GMs. It didn't matter. Those of us who stuck with it in the face of sometimes ridicule, sometimes bullying, or sometimes indifference and confusion, um, we did it because mostly they're people who are creative and intelligent and not satisfied by mundane entertainments. And we felt that artistic urge to collaborate and tell a story together. There's nothing more human than sitting around a campfire telling stories, and it's the modern equivalent of that, I think. So, how does it feel to see that hobby that you have had a lifetime of actually celebrated?
Yeah, it's it. I think you and I have talked about this once or twice before, especially when because you were the person that really introduced me to and reminded me that actual plays were a thing, and then recommended one or two key ones that were highly
Yeah.
formative and made a huge impression. And so, yeah, it was in the ensuing years as D&D's grown in popularity. It entered like full pop culture and became just as valid as other as anime has and as manga has, and things that, yeah, you were absolutely ridiculed for in the original time when it was coming up. It was almost a little bit resentful, and like, well, it's wonderful that they get to experience it. I'm so happy that so many more people get to do it now. But you feel a little bit of that. Well, geez, like, it's, we didn't get to celebrate it in the open. We had to do it in our basements and in our rooms. Quick sidebar on that: when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons First Edition in junior high school, so grade 9, grade 10, we would play on our lunch hours at school. You could not play in the library. You could not play in the hallway in front of your lockers with all of the various bullies of the athletic variety and of the leather jacket wearing variety and of the all the in betweens, and all the people laughing, snickering, and because people would make fun, people might even
Yeah.
grab at your books and damage things. But our English teacher was super generous to us and allowed us to stay in her classroom during lunch hour because they would close the classroom doors and they locked from the inside. We had a locked classroom that we could be completely undisturbed. Sometimes they knew we were in there and they would come bang on the door and yell at us and then continue on their way. But we had 60 minutes, 45 minutes even, of just where we could play D&D on top of playing it on the weekends and in the evenings, and every time we were supposed to be doing homework, we were playing D&D. But at school, that English teacher recognized that this was our club. The chess club had their room in the library, and
Yeah.
the band club got together, and the athletic groups got together, and it wasn't even a D&D club. We were just a small circle of friends that would play our game.
Yeah.
And there was no judgment from her, and she allowed us to stay in her classroom over the lunch hour with a locked door, which protected us, but also gave us a little room. So that was my quick sidebar of what you were just talking about for a
Yeah,
second.
well, there was the satanic panic and all that sort of thing as well that made it difficult for the hobby to thrive in its early days, I think. But it is really neat to see the current generation of gamers um, really able to celebrate it
Yeah.
publicly.
And
It's
yeah, and to answer your questions, like, how does it make me feel now? Well, it makes me feel wonderful now because so many more people get to experience it. But as I grew as a writer, I pursued a little bit of fiction writing, and then I kind of got back to my original love, which was comic books, and I pursued that off and on for a number of years. Pretty much just self publishing. I've never really done any major freelance work for any major publishers, but I've always stuck with it. But as role playing games came roaring back into pop culture and expanded, and now D&D books are being sold in bookstores and things of that nature, right? Like that, when the hobby reached that kind of level, and more new publishers emerged in the last 20 years, publishing all sorts of games, some for IP, some with their own original work. Um, and so it's like a smorgasbord now of role playing games that you can choose from. In terms of that, it
yeah,
inspired me both as a gamer and as a writer to want to create more stories, both in terms of the games that we played. I had talked about when you and I first met that I had a dry spell of many years where I wasn't part of a regular group and I had no regular gaming going on, and I felt it, and I didn't know if I
yeah,
would get it back. And when I finally got to meet our table, that eventually coalesced into the table we have now, I didn't even appreciate at the time how important that would become, how much meaningful that would be to me. But then it also kept my creative bug going and allowed me to then get back into storytelling for role playing games, just as well alongside for comics, just as alongside for others fantasy stories. And then that when I discovered actual plays was like, I'm like, people are doing this online, and the people are like celebrating it and watching it and experiencing joy from that. I'm like, I want to do that. I want to share the stories that I
Yes.
play. So it was to take all of the joy and all of the passion I had for our home table, and as a writer, it gave me a chance to just stretch a little bit more. And I told you this, I think, once before too, that it was like I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And so
Yeah.
that's and that was literally a journey that was started 2 years ago for me
Yeah.
for actual plays, both in terms of being in front of the camera and being a game master for the first one, game master, producer, editor for the second one, and now continuing on that path. But in 2 years, I went from I wonder if I could do that to Jason gets to go to New Jersey Web Fest.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really great. I have to say, the joy of you've always had a soft spot for Star Wars, and particularly the D6 system, and the joy you have for that game really comes through in both series that you did. I'm sure that what you've done will be appreciated. And
Thank you.
I hope you have fun. I hope you have a blast.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
we'll expect you to report back.
Absolutely. And that's what I have to do is I have to allow myself to just get lost in the moment and to just and to not think about it as an actual play producer and comparing myself to all these other games, because at the end of the day the judges are going to make decisions based on the criteria that they think are most important.
Sure.
And there could be a secret sauce that my game didn't have that they thought was wonderful, but it just didn't meet the criteria for it. I'm not going to come away disappointed at all if I don't win any of the
No,
categories I'm in.
some of the games have really amazing production values and huge viewership
Absolutely.
and yet this is your second attempt. You know, your and to be recognized and accepted in 5 categories on really your second actual play is
Yeah.
you're standing among giants. It doesn't matter whether you're the
Yeah.
tallest giant.
And that's
Right.
exactly the attitude I want going into it, and
Yeah.
the attitude I want coming out of it as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll be
Yeah.
excited to share that, and that's why I wanted to take a few moments right now and just celebrate that for people that might be checking out after the war and don't know enough about me or know enough about what we're doing. Maybe they've not spent a ton of time scrolling the Dungeon Scrawlers, listing of shows, but you'll see if you go to the playlists, you'll see Quadrilateral, you'll see Quadrilateral Frostfall, the follow-up series. And yeah, there's other Star Wars actual plays out there, but I not just the challenge of can Jason do an actual play. I set a challenge of I want to do an elevated Star Wars game, and
Yeah.
that was part of what I wanted to do, where there was some emotional heft to it. It wasn't just a beer and pretzels game. That that the players felt something meaningful happen. And if I'm lucky enough to do it, you got to do it for yourself and do it for the players. And then the audience, if you connect with the right audience, they'll find it and they'll be along. But as I say, sitting in a theater with a bunch of people who are going to see, I don't know, but I think there's a very good chance I'm the only Star Wars actual play that's going to be at New Jersey Web Fest. And
Yeah.
if that's the case, it's going to be pretty crazy to have an audience full of people in a movie theater watching you on the screen and watching what you do, and maybe I get a few woohoos out of it before it's over. So
If you come back as the top Star Wars actual play using the D6 system by a Canadian Gamerunner,
that's right.
it's still a victory.
Over the age of 50. Yeah.
Over the age of 50, yeah. In the over 50 Canadian category.
Here's our silver seniors category stage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So thank you for allowing me the segue and just to celebrate.
I don't control this. You
And-
got the range.
I do. And,
I don't mind.
And yeah, and then like I say, because then I'll be able to context now, and then I'll be able to talk about it when I get back. And I think that when we talk about pulling back the actual play curtain, man, that's what I'm so looking forward to. Not just the experience of getting to see my own work perhaps get celebrated and acknowledged. That's phenomenal in and of itself, but getting to maybe network and hobnob a little bit with other actual play people that are, as you say, have larger audiences, bigger channels, bigger production, but just to pick their brains and to learn what they view, what their joy in actual play production is and what they're seeing from it, that's going to be something that I would love to share with after the war when we talk about pulling back the actual play curtain and being able to share a bit of insight into how other channels and other performers are approaching it.
One of the things that's interesting too is, just by virtue of being there and being able to, as you say, mingle with these people, there's nothing preventing you from making yourself available as a player on one of these other things
Yeah.
that have higher viewership. There's nothing a GM enjoys more than a highly engaged player, and GMs who know what it's like to be on the other side of the table are great for that, right?
Yeah.
You know that they're gonna. You watch Matt Mercer when Brennan Lee Mulligan is running an actual play,
Yeah.
and you know Brennan Lee Mulligan is delighted to have Matt Mercer at the table because Matt knows
Totally.
what beats to hit to feed into the narrative,
Totally.
and rich character that he's developed, and he's
Yeah.
just excited to play rather than run, and
Yeah.
I'm sure Brennan Lee Mulligan is
My goal is to try and play it cool and not be too eager too quickly. But 100%, that would be a wonderful side goal to get an
yeah,
invite. If any type of a table that does remote play, that would be phenomenal for sure.
yeah, absolutely,
Very good.
and easier than running.
Yeah, exactly right. No, no, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's just as we talk about as writing when you're reading other books or watching other media, it's sometimes hard when you're a writer to turn off your writer brain. Actual play production, it'd be hard to turn off your AP brain and think about how you would do it differently when you're in that moment, right? So yeah, for sure.
Go get
So
yours.
that's all right. So for this episode of Spore War,
Oh yeah.
what the purpose of why we're gathering today, what I was excited to talk about because it actually feeds into what we just talked about a few moments ago about the old school, our foundation and our beginnings in old school D&D. You had an old school D&D moment just for a few moments because we got to experience high level wizard magic and what a teleport spell can do to change the narrative of a game. And I'm just gonna say to you for a moment that there was the one thing I'm like, oh, I wish he had thought of this moment when you had Gwen as Briala roll that D20 for that teleport roll. It needed to be a real dice moment because I think
I know.
that would
I
have
thought
been
about that afterwards.
okay. And I'm glad you did because I figured your brain would go there, but I'm like, oh, that would have just been that cherry on the sundae of what it was. But what I wanted you to talk about for a few minutes first because we're cutting ahead in terms of where the story's going for now. That's not as important for this discussion, but the idea of what, because we talked throughout all the preludes about the fact that Spore War starts at level 11 and takes you all the way up to 20. Now we're getting into the big toys. We're getting into high level wizard magic and Briala. Yeah, we've now seen a couple of episodes of what Disintegrate can do to upend an encounter. Now we're seeing what Teleport can do to change the design of the adventure in terms of travel, and you talked about sea travel versus overland travel and all these things, and there was pieces in the adventure that in the adventure path or the adventure path that if the characters travel this way, here's things you can add in. And bypassing all of that, it was echoes of our own home table because we've used teleportation and portal magic to completely bypass overland journeys for great swaths of the Age of Ashes campaign,
Yes.
which is how it's designed. But also we then lean into that even further and continue to expand our own interests in different areas of Galarian through the use of that same kind of magic. But talk a little bit about that. Talk about the high level teleport, and I just had to laugh that as such a an opportunistic player where Gwen, like in a good way, where Gwen's like, well, if one teleport's good, then 3 teleports is great.
Yeah.
So talk about that and talk about what that does to the adventure. And I don't know if the adventure path accounted for teleport in there.
It was fine. There was nothing that was actually skipped over as a result of the teleport. The voyage is going to be uneventful, I believe, either way. But it is something that, as a game master or game runner, you encounter once you hit that power level. That can be, if you haven't run at high levels before, and even medium levels where teleport first becomes available, it can be really disconcerting as a GM, and you need to plan around it. Now, I'm going to talk about two sides of it. One is as a game master in D&D or a game runner, you need to uh, be aware that by the time the players get to the ability to cast teleport, if you have an idea for a long journey where they're going to encounter important people along the way, that's likely not going to happen. There are some built-in mechanical restraints on teleport. One is if you've never been there, you're not supposed to be able to get there by teleport. I bypassed that in this particular example because I think it was, for me, when I'm trying to do an actual play where we're not trying to take a whole year to finish it,
Yeah,
a few shortcuts are not a bad thing.
absolutely.
And so there's some interesting characters on the ship that they would have met, and we would have spent a whole session in the role play fun there,
Yeah,
which is great at a home table. But for right now, the players are getting enough screen time with their interesting role playing. I didn't feel we needed that. We needed to make a little progress. So that's fine. I have had entire encounters that I spent hours preparing, bypassed years ago because a combination of divination magic, scrying, and teleportation magic. There are some built-in guardrails on teleport. One is you need to the chance of error and the fact that you can't go somewhere you're not familiar with as easily or at all in some game systems. I think teleport is unrestrained teleport in the game rules. The way even with the minor guardrails they put in is probably um, it needs more in terms of restraint because it is really disruptive to the game master when you have plans for them to bypass those plans.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you say, well, you can't teleport there because there's some magic barrier against teleportation, it feels like a cop out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you either need to early on establish that there are some places you can't teleport to before they get the teleport spell so they're not disappointed by the fact that it's not a go anywhere you want anytime you want kind of spell. Um, or you need to be okay with that disruption of your plans as a game runner.
Yeah, which we've talked about that before in terms of this, the being able to be flexible and improv a bit and just figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about guardrails. Let's talk about, because I want you to, we're gonna blend the Spore War story with a little bit of the old man story time.
Before you do, can I just talk about the kind of guardrails I have in mind? Like, if
Let's do a little game design. Absolutely.
So the kind of thing I have in mind in Stephen Brust's books, the Jareg series, um, teleportation magic leaves him violently ill from the disorientation every single time, and he arrives unable to defend himself and puking. In some games, you need a portal at either end, like the Wheel of Time. You need those way gates unless you have some other portal stone. That's what I mean. Some limitation. You have to follow ley lines. You can only go places that are on ley lines. These kinds of things. That's what I mean by some sort of limitation.
Teleportation circles or whatever. Absolutely. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Let's just talk about guardrails and let's kind of blend old man story time with Spore War as the adventure path, because you took a little inspiration to it, and I wasn't 100% sure how, if you were like full on rolling old school charts or if you were just kind of inspired by it. But explain for anybody that watches tonight's episode, the latest book one episode, and where you talk about because you use the phrase we're going old school first edition D&D with this. Explain what you were doing and what the consequences were for Gwen making the decision to still cast the teleportation.
So there are lots of different ways that teleportation errors have crept into D&D over time. The one I ended up using was just the mischance. You end up somewhere you don't anticipate because you're not familiar enough with the destination. There have been some game systems, and I don't recall exactly which ones, where you actually can land inside solid rock and die.
Yes.
And that's a little too extreme. But I am a big fan of risky teleporting. I think risky teleporting is great.
Yes.
And so in this case, without being too punitive, they got to the right city, but they got into an area they shouldn't have been.
Yes.
And that provided a little tension on their arrival.
Which I appreciated how you did that, because they didn't appreciate the weight of that until it was explained to them by the NPC that was with them, and it was a great way to have a consequence without, like you say, without putting up a barrier to prevent Gwen from being able to even just use the spell, or just having it rely solely on a dice roll that mechanically is not very exciting or fair in some cases, right? Yeah, that was really good. But yeah, I just wanted to show that bit, because it's not teleport. Is it gate is the one that you can end up in the wrong plane if you have the mischance?
I think it's gate, yeah.
Yeah, the older editions.
Well, Amulet of the Plains is maybe what you're thinking of. The magic item that if you have to make an intelligence check every time you use it, or else you're going to end up somewhere bad, or random or different.
So super high power artifact level magic items that mimic these powers, mimic these spells, but with serious consequences, exactly as you say, for that reason.
Yeah,
right? So,
I think that's the one.
Yeah, okay. So what was also great was they finally, in a good way, like not that we've spent too much time there, but it was finally due to do a bit of sightseeing, and they got to leave Green Gold and essentially leave Keonan for the
Yeah.
first major time in the adventure path, and to encounter a stark difference of cultures right away.
Yes. Yeah. And I would have liked to have given that a little more time to breathe, but the haste of their mission and just the circumstances they arrived in, I'm hope we, before they head leaves Zur, they have a little more chance to explore that. I think one of the things we haven't done with this group yet is shopping.
Right.
There is something both arduous and fun about the opportunity to spend the wealth and rewards they've obtained and try to get items that are better suited for their characters than the ones that the module or random
Yep.
chance
Yep.
has given them. And this seems to me a place where, especially if, I mean, they're not going to be able to get anything unless they sneak into the Faithful District,
That's
which,
I was going to say that in this specific location, that could be an interesting set of scenes, but it's
yeah,
not an easy one. It's not the same as just going into a affluent part of the city to go shopping.
correct. Which is why I think it might be a fun way to do a shopping trip.
Which is okay. So I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna ask you because we've talked about this privately when we talk about other actual plays, and I've heard this criticism before that some audience members desperately do not want to tune into an actual play just to watch the PCs go shopping or to spend the day in the
Right.
market, for example. Yeah, that for home table that can be fun. There can be lots of banter and
Yeah.
fun and humor that's to be had. But as an audience member, is that really how I want to spend the next 2 hours of my night when I'm tuning in for what I'm hoping is a good or exciting story, just to watch the PCs go shopping for 2 hours?
I have faith in myself that's probably misplaced that I can pull it off. Um,
I
you know,
know
when
I know nothing about being full of my own ego and thinking I can do a high level actual play that or a high quality actual play that's
yeah,
engaging. So yeah, I
um,
can't relate to that statement at all.
I mean, I have not, I don't come into actual play without having watched any. And if you watch, for example, Matt Mercer, with, I can't remember the name of his magic shop, proprietor that he keeps going back to has multiple clones of themselves walking
Mm,
around. Simulacra of himself. But I think a shopping trip where you're just pouring through books and saying, "Can I buy this?" That's not, you can do that off screen. But I have a feeling that a dynamic shopping trip where you're in disguise and have to be very careful and have to praise
yes.
Razmir to everyone,
Yes.
right? And you're wearing the mask and
Yep.
you're in subterfuge, and the shopkeepers are unusual, and the economy is not necessarily using ordinary valuations because it depends on
Yep.
whether it's going to benefit
Yep.
Razmir or not. I think we can make a shopping trip that's a little different.
100%, and that's yeah. Your train of thought there is, and your approach to it is exactly what I was expecting you would say because that's where you can have both the shopping scene and the chance for the player characters just to get a bit of bonding time between
Yeah.
big dramatic scenes that get set up. But doing it in such a way that even that's not just a walk in the park, and there's a little bit of drama that comes along with that, because they've done very well in those fish out of water scenarios, both as
Yeah.
players and as their player characters. I would enjoy seeing that too for the same reason.
Yeah. Remind me if I forget.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Um, and I enjoyed the map snafu where you were trying to do a very quick reveal of just the entrance to the next stage of the adventure, and I left that recording in, and I don't know that I'll cut it out. I'll probably just leave it in the actual episode when it goes
Ooh, yeah.
because it's just so funny. I was just sitting here kind of smiling and laughing
Oh,
to myself because
totally leave it in.
because it was just perfect and a perfect example of just that you just technical oopses happen and they all did their best to assure you they saw nothing and remembered nothing.
Fuck me. We're allowed one F word per episode, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They didn't
sure.
use it, so.
No, that's fair.
Um, oh, I didn't spend a lot of time on masking, but I masked it. What the hell happened? I don't know.
And even
Uh,
after you remasked it, Lex could still see it, so
yeah.
it makes me
I, and
wonder
I,
it makes me wonder if the permissions we did with the tiger somehow gave her GM GM
Uh,
viewing on the map. I don't know.
I
So
don't know. I don't. I mean, for this one, it doesn't matter. I'm
no.
cutting out 3 of the encounters anyways. There are 6 encounters. I think a couple is fine.
Yep.
Um, they don't need to fight the same thing multiple times.
In setting this up for the next episode with a little trying to not do too many spoilers, but I'm just curious: are you going to do a full fog of war? Are you going to reveal the map as they explore to kind of give them that classic sort of
Yes.
sewer exploration scene? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, except they now have a guess as to what the whole thing looks like and
That's
where
right.
things are.
Strangely, I'm drawn to the right. I don't know why, but I think I
Yeah,
should go right.
exactly. It's funny. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
You know,
that's
it's kind of funny too because I thought about not masking at all.
yep,
Just, you guys find a map of the sewer and this is what it looks like, and just putting the tokens for the bad guys on the GM layer.
yep,
I thought, I'm going to mask it. I'm going to go through classic, old school, unveil as we go,
yep,
and then I don't need to hide the GM tokens
yep,
on the GM level because I'm going to have it masked anyways,
yep.
and that worked.
And just the hint of what's waiting for them inside that sewer was enough for Briella and Banda to immediately pull up stakes and say, nope, we are not even going to go peek inside the first tunnel. They were very cautious,
Yeah.
which I both understood for that. But I'm like, oh, I hope they don't pull back too much. But I think that they were sensible in recognizing that a little bit of prep was worthwhile in this case, and so I thought that was a good instinct on their part
Yeah, they're good.
to not do the classic, oh well, I'm scouting ahead, I'll open one more door, what could go wrong type scenario, right?
Eaton.
That's right. That's right. Um, and we talked a little bit about scheduling. We talked a little bit about how many more episodes we think it'll take to kind of go. We had to have a talk with the players about making sure their personal schedules could accommodate the amount of time that we still had left to complete the book 1 of the Adventure Path series. And yeah, everybody's still on board and everybody is still keen to continue. So it was very heartening to have them immediately have no reservations or to say, no, I've got conflicts and this is going to impact my participation. It was everybody's still prioritizing it as something that they're wanting to be a part of.
I think there's a couple things going on there, but I think just genuinely they're fun people who are having fun with each other, and so it's a good we got lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Any parting thoughts before we wrap up this episode of After the War?
Um, Little things. Like I don't know. I just when you know your player characters a little bit, um, just the fact that you can throw something out there just to play around with them as if you're the cat and they're the mice, and it's the miniature bottles are just a little too big. Little things, little digs that just add a little
Yeah,
familiarity and spice. I really enjoy those moments.
yeah, yeah.
These players really engage with those moments, which is a gift.
That's very true. Absolutely. Okay, so that brings to a close this episode of After the War. Thank you to everybody for taking some time to join us. When we come back next time, I might have a few stories for New Jersey Webfest to share, and we'll be very close. We'll be approaching the end of the Spore War Adventure Path series for Book 1, which means the stakes will get very steep very quickly, and it'll be very interesting to see how the players are reacting to what's coming next around the corner. So looking forward to that very much. We hope you're enjoying the rest of the series with us. One more time, my name is Jason Collins. I'm a freelance comic book writer, tabletop role-playing game designer, actual play producer, and streamer. You can find links to my work, the other actual plays I've been a part of, and my fantasy comic Thistle on my link tree at digital_Collins.
And I'm Matt Seneschal, and if you'd like to see Jason and I talk about other game systems in a special add-on episode, such as comparing Draw Steel and other systems. We're sort of branching out and experimenting, just making characters in different systems. We'd be happy to do that. Just put comments.
Yeah, there you go. Little invitation for some extra conversations we can have. Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.